Bygone Visions of Cosmic Neighbors by Lamino, his new video. Have you seen the new Michael Reeves video? Who the fuck's Michael Reeves? Hey, what's up, streamer? Have you seen any John B. Feeble video? What's your opinion on Tommy, what's your opinion on motherfucking Tommy, what is your opinion on? What's your opinion on The Cutaway? What a movie, Tommy. Have you seen it? Have you seen that movie? You gotta watch it with Lisa, Tommy. Have you seen it? Tommy, we need to talk about Ernesto de Fiore. He was a German sculptor. You guys, you don't understand. He was working for the Nazis, Tommy. Tommy, here's a video you should really react to. I'm gonna send it to you in Discord, okay? It's about Yuyo. It's my favorite J-pop band, Tommy. Check it out, man. Shut the fuck up.
1806, two German astronomers were independently observing Venus when they noticed something odd. The hemisphere facing away from the sun did not perfectly blend with the blackness of space. Instead, it had a faint glow with a grayish-red or ashen-gray appearance. This ashen light resembled a phenomenon known
Thank you.
as earth shine. It's when sunlight reflected by the earth faintly illuminates the night side of the moon.
Reflected.
It seemed reasonable, therefore, to ascribe the ashen light to a similar cause, namely that sunlight reflected by a Venusian moon was faintly illuminating the night side of Venus. Only one slight problem: Venus doesn't have a moon.
There's some
This
other
meant
object.
the ashen light resembled earth shine in appearance only because there was nothing in proximity of Venus to reflect any sunlight. In the words of famed astronomer William Herschel, those regions that are turned from the sun cannot possibly shine by a borrowed light.
But isn't that wrong? Those regions that are not turned, that are turned from the sun cannot possibly. But didn't we just talk about that? Even though the sun is not shining at the moon, there is still a reflection of the Earth hitting the moon. Thank you, Flanders. So, everything suddenly became really loud. Thank you for the sub, man.
A few decades later, another German astronomer, Franz von Gröthausen,
The Germans, man.
proposed a rather creative solution to this mystery. The ashen light was the result of sweeping wildfires on the surface of Venus, deliberately ignited by its inhabitants. As absurd as that sounds, there were tantalizing similarities between Venus and Earth. The two planets were of similar size, and much like the Earth...
The problem with 1st of April is, man, you never know if they're just fucking making jokes here.
Venus
like, I'm taking
had
this
an
very
atmosphere,
serious, but in the end
a
it's like...
densely cloud-laden atmosphere which gave astronomers and science fiction authors alike free rein to speculate about what could lie beneath. A barren desert, a planet-wide ocean, a tropical rainforest. Anything was possible. It was in this
was 30th of March. You win this one, you fuck. You win this one.
Gröthausen made his proposal
Good
in
job.
1836.
CIA over here
He
in the
believed
chat.
that Venus was inhabited by a humanoid species who would periodically light fires on the surface, the purpose of which was either to clear land, to commemorate a religious occasion, or to celebrate the coronation of a new Venusian emperor. Gröthausen did perhaps get a bit carried away, but he was far from the first to suggest that Venus was inhabited. Titans of astronomy like Christian Huygens and William Herschel envisioned all the planets, including Venus, to be teeming with life. And it took a long time for this romanticized image to fade. In 1916, this illustration appeared in American newspapers with the caption, "A remarkable drawing by Mr. Winsor McKay, illustrating the conditions on Venus as astronomical science."
You're telling me in
now believes
1916
them to
some
exist."
people thought Venus as people on it?
Even well into the space age, we still find echoes of this Earth-like perception. In 1967, a Soviet spacecraft plunged into the clouds of Venus to attempt a landing on its surface. While the probe did not survive the descent, it was actually designed to float in case of a water landing.
People thought there's aliens on Mars until
History is
1916.
rife with stories much like this one. largely forgotten stories that once upon a time promised to end our cosmic solitude. Bygone visions of life asunder, long since quelled by newfound wonder. Venusian fire festivals were not the cause of the ashen light, but observations continued.
Videos like this always make me want to play EVE Online, man.
To be made. By the end of the 19th century,
Very
some 24 observations had
Why are
been
you talking
recorded.
about Koreans all of a sudden?
But some astronomers would dedicate years to the study of Venus without ever catching a glimpse of its elusive glow. Instead, they would often be greeted by these vague streaks and patches. They covered large portions of the planet and appeared to be features on the surface, lurking beneath the clouds. At least that was the opinion of American astronomer Percival Lowell. Far from the diffused shadings reported by his peers, Lowell could discern a distinctive network of branching spokes. It is as if a bright...
Seems weird. I would just think that's some natural occurrence, some kind of gas, or I don't know, something in the atmosphere.
A veil of some sort were drawn over the whole disk. These spokes of Venus bore a striking resemblance to markings observed on both Mercury and Mars.
Here comes the money.
The feature...
Here we go.
Thank you for the $50 Rickroll, Holy Werner, man. This is maybe the biggest moment of your life. Take it. Oh yeah, I always forget 1st of April. Thank you for the 50, Werner, man. Thank you, man. What a great investment you just did. Thank you, dude.
Features on Mars were especially distinct and remarkably linear. Lowell had been somewhat unimpressed by the spokes.
I feel like with
Venus,
these documentaries that also Lemino does often, let's say, how to make a Lemino video, and I don't want to offend, I like this guy, I like it. I go to the library and open a history book. I then take any theory that has been disproved in the last years. I then take this theory and I only show you what the theory was talking about. There might be aliens on Mars. Did you know that Hitler's on the other side of the moon? You just told all the shit, and then in the final 10% you're like, unfortunately this has all been disapproved. Bad, but cool video, right? You're like, woo! And I always feel like we will see that this all has a very rational reasoning behind it.
Would lineate.
But right now, obviously, you're like at home. Whoa, what does that mean? Whoa, is that the web wave from Warhammer?
On Mars.
Guys, I'm actually thinking. I'm not saying that. No.
There are celestial sights more dazzling, spectacles that inspire more awe. But to the thoughtful observer who is privileged to see them well, there is nothing in the sky so profoundly impressive as these canals.
Mars. I've never heard of my life.
Owing to their
Musk doesn't talk
striking
about it, can it be
linearity,
real?
Lowell could reach but one conclusion. The Martian canals must be the workings of an intelligence. He carefully laid out his arguments in 3 lengthy books filled with these intricate maps and illustrations. The Martian canals represented a vast irrigation network designed to carry melted ice water from the poles down to the equator.
Yeah, maybe old riverbeds and stuff. Very basic answer.
While many were understandably skeptical, the idea that Mars could be inhabited was an extremely compelling one. Perhaps even more so than Venus. Legendary science fiction author H.G. Wells famously...
I don't want to share it because 99% of chat doesn't even understand it and was laughing at me. I had a little daydream where I imagined my own Space Marine design in Warhammer Tabletop, okay? I was just, I was walking around, I'm like, bro, that would be the greatest painting, man. Well, I feel that. But then I'm like, no, man, you're not buying this shit. You're not buying shitty figurines, man. No. No, I will not paint. There will be no painting streams. I'm not going to buy this shit. Not going to happening. Because I know I'm not talented enough to have a good painting.
They wrote the...
But if you want to know, it was a Space Marine. And I was thinking, so you make him black matte, and then some fine, some little sprinkles of white and gray, like at the sides, and his eyes are bright, shining teal blue. I was feeling that. I just had that in my brain. My own little Space Marine chapter. Kind of weird. Even I, who's very nerdy, thinks that's too nerdy, man.
War of the Worlds. A fictional story about the Martian invasion of Earth, first published in 1897.
Do it for your kid. Hey, unborn kid, do you want me to paint space marines for you so I can put them into your fucking cradle so you lay there fucking touching Xenos and space marines so you can believe the Emperor?
But
Great
a decade
idea,
later,
mate.
Wells published a speculative non-fiction article titled "The Things That Live on Mars." Inspired by Lowell's fanciful interpretations, Wells goes on to envision the habitat,
heretic talk,
society, and appearance of real Martians.
Dude, chat will instantly fuck that. I know you guys. You guys didn't look here. You looked right here. And you're like, maybe over there I can find the girlfriend.
To Wells and many others,
I mean, she's probably looking better than most of your real girlfriends.
The existence of Martians was not just possible, it was probable. Indeed, to some, it had already attained a veneer of truth. In 1891, the French Academy of Sciences was bequeathed a sum of 100,000 francs by a wealthy Parisian widow. The money was to be awarded to the first person who found the means of communicating with another planet, with the notable exception of Mars, implying that communicating with Martians would have been far too simple of a challenge.
I think the only simple thing is your brain. Pierre Gouze. No. Were you in Institute of France?
The reality of the Martian canals was difficult to ascertain, as they resided at the very limits of perception. Telescopes were never quite good enough to conclusively...
To be honest, when I was younger, I always wanted to get into astronomy and telescopes, but I could never afford it. Still, like, my monitor is literally on astronomy books. And I hope that maybe one day I'm hoping that I could buy a telescope and me and my son, we can be like, whoa, that's fucking Mars. Dude, I have such romantic feelings about this. Imagine you look through a telescope and you see Mars. Like, you don't see it on the screen, on Tommy's stream here. You literally, with your own eyes, see Mars. I don't know how you feel. I think that is so epic. I think that is mind-blowing. I've always been a guy, man. Astronomy blew my mind, dude. There's no cooler topic than space, man, and what's going on there, man.
Prove nor
shit blows my tits out, man.
A book commissioned by NASA as late as
it must be pretty cool. You can check the neighbors,
stated
right?
that although there's no unanimous opinion concerning the existence of the canals, most astronomers would probably agree that there are apparently linear markings on Mars.
Too much light resolution in
Indeed,
cities.
maps of the Red Planet published by the US military that very same year featured sprawling networks of canals.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah, Beskinger. You can see impact craters on the moon with the mere eye. Isn't that cool? That is, if you really take a step, right, and stop being a memer and think about that, that is so unbelievably mind-blowing. That is, wow, dude. Holy shit. You know what I had last night? Oh, I'm gonna destroy. You want me to destroy your mood? You want me to fuck you up? Last night, right? I have that sometimes. When I was younger, I had it more often. Nowadays, I still have it, but I don't care anymore because now I'm old and want to die. Sometimes, right? Like every 6 months, okay? I wake up at night, I'm like... And then suddenly something happens. And I think you guys know what that is. I'm like... Wait. One day... There will be a moment, not tomorrow, not in 2 years, maybe not even in 10 years, but one day, I will make the experience of dying. And I'm laying in bed like 4 a.m., I'm like, ah, fuck. Nowadays, when I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, mommy! Nowadays, I'm 30 years old, I'm like, well, I hope it comes tomorrow. And I fall back asleep, dude. But you know, that shit fucks up your whole night, right? Your brain is always attention somewhere else. Oh, video games, Ukraine, Putin, job, tits, blah, blah. But sometimes you're like, wait, one day, with 100% certainty, pretty much, you're gonna fucking die. And you're like, ah, fuck. And then but the thing is, trust me, here's a tip for you. Once you're over 30, you're happy about that. You're like, bro, I cannot wait to be out of this fucking shit planet, dude. And that's very positive. Anyway, let's go back.
A towering Atlas Agena rocket is the launch vehicle that hurtles the Mariner into the heavens. Scientific apparatus on the Mariner will try to measure the density of the planet's atmosphere, and a television camera will seek to make photographs of its surface, giving man his first close-up look at Mars.
The American spacecraft
die,
Mariner
less taxes I
4
pay.
transmitted the first close-up photographs of the Martian surface in the summer of 1965.
Damn.
Despite the complete...
Isn't it crazy how far we've gotten in just kind of 50, 60 years? And the Mars rover now shows you 4K pictures. It's pretty insane, right?
absence of any linear markings, scientists at NASA were unwilling to give up hope. Nothing positive concerning the existence
Let's do
or
a
lack
hype
of
train
canals
because it's the
can be
weekend
concluded on the
finally.
basis of
Poppy,
the
as if you
Mariner
can
4
start a hype train.
photographs.
I still appreciate you though.
Hesitation and dwindling hopes aside, the Martian canals
Play Norway and
had come.
Kaiserreich. Let me ban that guy. X66 one shot is gonna get banned because you told me what to do in High 4.
to an end.
The canals, the cities, the Martians are all gone. Imaginative inventions, optical illusions.
What a picture in comparison to the other one. You know what I mean? I mean, what a progress, man.
As early as
now we're on
1903,
Mars.
had an
That's
experiment
so
found
cool.
that groups of students seated
you,
a few meters
Snowpapa,
away
what a
from
3
an
years,
illustration like this one
Thank you, man.
could discern fine, straight lines where none existed. The experiment demonstrated
Thank you,
that
man.
non-linear markings viewed from a distance could evoke a linear appearance. This sort of visual inference is even said to be apparent in certain photographs. I mean, look at this. Not only is there a clear correlation between this sketch and this photograph of Mars, but you can almost see these...
Sketch of Mars drawn by Earl in 1924. Photograph of Mars taken... But that's not crazy, that's just...
barely
okay.
perceptible lines snaking across the plains.
That's not
The
weird.
spokes on Venus, meanwhile, bear a curious resemblance to the inside of an eye. It appears that Lowell constrained the aperture of his telescope
Where
to
are we
such
going
an
now, man?
extreme-
Every 6 months I have to go to an eye test because of eye pressure with stress and stuff, and I can't show right now. And that was really scary that she was doing my eye just 2 months ago, and there's these little yellows. You see that yellow thing here? That's a young eye, and she's like she's showing me the sketch from a year ago and the one from 2 months ago, and I'm like, well, the yellowness has dimmed a little bit, just a tiny bit, and she's like, yeah, that's when you get old. Once you're 50, the yellow is fully gone. And whoa, what the fuck, dude? The yellow is gone. I don't know what that means, but the yellow is gone. Fucking hell. Like, getting older sucks. Stuff actually happens in your body. You lose the yellow.
that the
fuck?
blood vessels inside his eye began
It's
to
becoming
cast
more bland,
shadows,
you know.
some of which might have fallen onto Lowell's retina, creating the illusion of labyrinthine markings on distant lines. It is as if a bright veil of some sort were drawn over the whole disc.
Maybe the yellow's actually bad. You're just a lobbyist for old people.
Whether it was optical illusions, indistinct shadings on the planets, turbulence in the atmosphere, technological limitations, or an untempered willingness to believe, these networks of lines were merely figments of the mind. There is something incredibly tragic about these old misconceptions. I mean, there was a time not so long ago when life beyond meant life right next door. There's still hope of finding less complex forms of life on a select few planets and moons, which is very exciting, but also a far cry from a tropical Venus or an Ecumenopolis on Mars. As our knowledge of the universe...
Took us 2,000 years to switch from bronze to iron and 70 from the first flight to the moon landing. Mind blown. Which makes you think, where are we gonna be in 50 years, man? You and me, we're gonna probably see the next 50 years if Putin wants to do that. And it's gonna be pretty insane to see.
continues to expand, so too much...
I sometimes think, another very depressive thought, we are the last generation that's fucked. Like, when you are like 89 years old and you're fucking in bed having cancer, ugh, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. Your fucking grandkid walks in with his fucking mecha suit, old man, blah, 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 beep, boop, 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 and everyone around you is immortal. You're watching TV, they're colonizing Mars. They just found aliens. And you are fucking dead. We are the last generation that's fucked. All the cool shit will happen after us, man. Fuck. Imagine you die one day before they can upload your mind into some fucking game or some shit. Oh my god, are you fucked?
must our search for cosmic neighbors.
And I think that's us. Enjoy life. Very depressive today.
By the mid-20th century, The ashen light had been observed by not dozens, but hundreds of observers, many of whom were as experienced as they were adamant of the phenomenon's existence. Despite this preponderance of eyewitness accounts, the lack of any empirical evidence...
Sorry, I'm very tired today, man. That's obviously a lifelong question for every human. Do you want to be immortal? I think the answer is no, because two things. Number one, the pain is too much. And I think everyone in chat that says they want to be immortal are forgetting something. You have a human brain, and your brain is open to trauma. Look at people that go through a refugee crisis. Look at yesterday I talked about that with all the Germans that had trauma from World War II, or other people, or the Ukrainians that now have trauma. If you live 1,000 years, you're gonna go through so much trauma and stuff that you're just gonna lose your mind. I believe that you're gonna see and experience and go through things that will just fuck your brain up. The human brain isn't made for that. Secondly, more philosophically, there's no reason to live when you're immortal. Why does anything in life has a sense? Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you make money? Why do you love? Why do you do all this stuff? Why do you have to overcome your weaknesses? I want to stop drinking alcohol. I want to work out more. Because if you're immortal, you can always just push it to the next day. I will marry next year. I will stop alcohol next year. Nothing makes sense anymore. There's just infinite time, and you don't need to achieve anything anymore. It's a big philosophical thing. In a weird way. And that's what gives me hope with death. Death gives us a reason to live. Without death, there's nothing, man. Death makes everything livable. Because you know there's a timeline. You know you gotta get going, man. Thank you, Glisa, man. Have fun in the train. Don't fart.
Evidence attracted a fair amount of skepticism. In fact, the doubts have plagued this phenomenon since the very beginning.
I think a better way to be immortal is to always restart, right? That really fixes the brain, you know. Yeah, the brain will also, for example, you die and you have a restart. The simulation puts you into another body, whatever the fuck. The Hindus, you get reborn, blah blah blah. That makes sense, you know. And that's why I love the egg theory. I think I don't believe in it, don't want you to think that, but check out the egg theory on Kurzgesagt on YouTube. What a theory. It's a theory that you are God. I love that theory. If you haven't seen it, you are God. Everything that ever existed, from the smallest worm to Adolf Hitler, you've been all of them. Every time you die, you come back as something else. You're an Asian farmer girl. You are a panda bear. You are Hitler and the millions that he killed, blah, blah, blah. You're everything. And step by step, your soul gets more experienced. And once you went through all of them, you become God and can create your universe. That is the egg theory, man. What a beautiful theory, man, right? What a beautiful theory, dude. It's all about experiences.
Italian astronomer Giovanni Riccioli is often recognized as the person who discovered the ashen light.
It's about...
In early 1643, Riccioli witnessed a band of colors enveloping the disk of Venus. The night side was tinted greenish blue and closed by a semicircle of light. Riccioli ascribed the vivid colors to light being refracted inside his telescope, an effect known as chromatic aberration.
So you just fucked yourself.
In other words, Riccioli thought the faint glow on Venus was
It's fucking retarded. Yeah, but fucking Jesus Christ being like, hey, what's up, fucker? Come to heaven, get your dick sucked for 20 minutes. That makes sense, huh? Keenan Khan. Yeah.
Optical illusion. Okay, so a quick aside, I managed to find an observation that, to my knowledge, has gone completely unnoticed and actually predates the one made by Riccioli. A German priest and scholar named Athanasius Kircher wrote in 1660 that
Athanasius, that's a nice name. Athanasius, a little bit pretentious nowadays.
Had observed a band of colors on Venus. No date was given, but Kircher did provide a location, Palermo, Sicily. Based on historical records, Kircher paid his last and only visit to Palermo in the spring of 1638. So Kircher observed the ashen light 5 years before Riccioli and should thus be credited with its discovery. Okay, back to the video.
Who gives a fuck?
Riccioli's doubts about the ashen light echoed through the centuries, and by the 1900s, it was not uncommon for sightings to be dismissed as a mere trick of the eye. Not only were observations infrequent and unpredictable, but they were often inconsistent.
This hurts my eyes, man. So look at this. Does this hurt your eyes looking at this? This kind of hurts my eyes.
And the extent to which the night side was illuminated could vary drastically between accounts. with no hard proof of its existence and a lack of concordance between those who...
It doesn't? You guys remember when 3 months ago I had migraine on stream? Since then I have eye issues. I always wear sunglasses when I drive now. Like when a car puts their lights into my eyes, I'm really reacting more than before. I probably should see a doctor or something.
The ashen light appeared destined to join the ranks
hard for me to
of
look
myth
at, man.
and misconception.
When is your spawn due?
But in 1975, the Soviet spacecraft Venera 9 became the first to successfully orbit Venus. Diving into the shadow of this faded twin, it detected faint,
A human-built thing is inside of Venus.
flashes of light emanating from the clouds below.
Ab zum Augenarzt müsste ich echt mal machen. Photophobia. Denazifying Venus.
Venus and Mars have historically been the 2 prime candidates for cosmic neighbors, but the other planets have not gone completely ignored. Scottish astronomer James Ferguson had few reservations about life in the solar system. When it came to Mercury, for instance, Ferguson thought that Mercurians simply possessed greater resilience to heat. It is very likely that the people on Mercury have the same opinion of us as we have of the inhabitants of Jupiter and Saturn, namely that we must be intolerably cold and have very little...
This is gonna sound so arrogant, man, but what academical nonsense, right? You have no empirical proof, and you talk about people on planets without... That does not seem very scientific. I don't know if I'm a bit...
light at so great a distance from the sun.
Arrogant with that?
Inspired by Ferguson's optimism,
make any assumption
William
without any
Herschel
proof.
took it a step further. In 1795, Herschel...
Theories? I have a theory that Dove Superior is actually pretty intelligent. What? Now I'm... That's a shit theory. It's a theory. It's still a shit theory. Don't need to fucking write it down.
confidently announced that the inside of the sun was home to an alien civilization. This might seem incredibly bizarre, but at the time it was not uncommon to view the sun as an enormous planet and
Darwin's theory? Darwin obviously showed a lot of proof for that.
cased by
Bullshit
a
comment.
luminous atmosphere.
The
Herschel
legendary
expanded upon
Madagascar
that idea by
birds.
regarding sunspots as openings in this flaming shell.
Kind of like the egg theory then, huh, Monkey? Thank you for the 4 question marks. If you will to have the ability to listen to anyone for once in your life. Obviously, I just talked about it's a funny theory. I don't believe in it. Sounds fun, though. I wouldn't go around, though, writing it in my fucking science history books. You Muppet Sorfin.
That momentarily exposed
It
the
looks
true
like
surface
Titanic
underneath.
going down.
This concealed surface was richly stored with inhabitants who were shielded against the immense heat by intermediate layers of clouds. We have great reason to look upon the sun as a most magnificent habitable globe. Apart from the planets and the sun, another bygone candidate for intelligent life
What the
is
hell?
the moon. Using stunning contraptions of tubes, wires,
Take my sub, you dirty boy.
Thank you, Crypto.
and lenses. Pioneering selenographer Johannes Evelius produced some of the earliest detailed maps.
The fuck out of her. Now we're in Middle Earth. Dude, it's literally Oblivion. Right here, Oblivion with that fucking thing. Skyrim up here. Bro, it all makes sense. Fuck you, Sorfin. You can't buy my love back. You actually can. I love you, Sorfin. Kiss on the forehead. I hope I can suck your dick soon. Thank you for the 5. Thank you, Sylvester. Good weekend to you all, man. No stream tomorrow, but Sunday. Tomorrow is brother day. I'm going to play football with my brother tomorrow. I'm excited. Like, we're taking his 2 sons and we're just playing some football, man. I'm excited. And play some FIFA. And yeah, Sunday we're back.
After lunar
Thank you for the
surface.
subs, boys. Todd Howard stole the
Whereas
man.
you and I see a barren landscape devoid of life, Hevelius espied upon the moon a near perfect copy
Mount Prophet.
of Earth.
He actually named everything, dude.
Mountains and valleys, rivers and lakes, swamplands and woodlands, islands and capes.
That looks legit like an RPG,
This
huh?
vivid interpretation can be traced to an ancient belief that bright and dark patches delineate continents from oceans. In fact, this fallacy is still reflected in the nomenclature we use today. Dark plains on the moon all have aquatic names, such as the
Like, look at that impact crater, man. Wow!
Ocean of Storms, the Lake of Dreams, and the Sea of Tranquility.
Tranquility Base here.
What does... Oh, Apollo 11 landed there. What's tranquility? What does that mean as a word in English? Tranquility. What is that?
The Eagle has landed.
What is that? It means silence, calmness, zen, peacefulness. Ah, okay. Tranquility. I like
Though
that.
water never filled these
Cool-
gloomy
cool word.
basins, it's not entirely inaccurate to
Tranquility.
call them ancient seabeds,
Isn't that an item
for they
Dota 2?
are the
Boots of
volcanic
Tranquility?
scars left
Oh, that's the
behind by
green ones
vast
that heal you?
oceans of molten rock, making the Lake of Death an especially apt name. While Hevelius never observed any creatures on the moon, its
Tranquilizer
subjective
dots.
resemblance
Ah,
to
yeah.
the Earth
Okay.
convinced him that Lunarians must exist, a conviction still being upheld more than a century later by who else if not William Herschel. I hope and am convinced that sometime or other very evident signs of life will be discovered on the moon. It didn't take long for these very evident signs
Like
to
that-
make themselves apparent.
Like that, you shouldn't use the word convinced there.
I am almost convinced that those numberless small circuses we see on the moon are the works of the Lunarians and may be called their towns. Herschel nearly convinced himself that the cratered landscape of the moon had been engineered by its
You were smoking
inhabitants.
something?
Craters.
I will never forget this, and here we go, Chad. There was a Joe Rogan episode. Joe Rogan. Listen till the end, you fuck. The legendary Joe Rogan episode where he had the mushroom expert, right? And the mushroom expert, right, with a lot of proof, kinda said religion is based on people getting high on mushrooms. So first of all, you're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? But then he explained a lot. When Roman and Greek leaders will meet the Oracle of Delphi, it is at least proven that in that area around the Oracle, there is a poisonous or was a certain poisonous mushroom. And it's very likely that when historically they would speak about visions of the gods, they would quite literally take a kind of like the oracles of Delphi, they will make a potion with the fucking mushrooms. The leader of Rome will take it and he'll be like, wow, fuck, man, I see Zeus, man, he must be real. And that a lot of actually ancient history and religion is based on people just being high and seeing weird fucking shit. Whoa, there's a bush, man, it's talking to me, what the fuck? And he has... check it out, don't listen to me, check out that episode. He has a lot of proof there. He literally studied the mushrooms and where they grow and shit, blah 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 blah. Very, very interesting stuff, man. And yeah,
Circuses were not the remnants of violent impact events, but skillfully constructed
Proof.
towns
Go watch the
and
episode yourself.
cities. While Herschel obsessed over circular dwellings, astronomers like
more believable than actually a real god came down to Earth.
Franz von Gröthesen espied habitats of all shapes and sizes. This star-like structure appears to be a kind of temple, and because of its
What's his
star
name?
shape,
I have no idea. It was that was really interesting, man. Joe Rogan, Mushroom Man. Mushroom Man. That's not him, no. No, I don't mean him. I don't mean him. Nah, the guy that says, I don't fucking know. I don't know, okay.
perhaps it
It's
is
not that guy,
dedicated
though.
in service to the
Ryan
star.
Mureskra. One guy says, I don't fucking know. Check it
The
out
circle
yourself.
in the south, the two highest mountains in the
To be
north,
honest, this is kind
and
of
the two
boring to me
hills
because it's
in the
just a bunch of
southwest
bullshit.
are natural objects. But it is highly
You sure it
probable
was
that
Wiz
these
Khalifa?
embankments serve as the dwellings of sentient beings on the moon. In reality, Gröthesen mistook some oddly shaped
It was on
terrain
YouTube before the
for
Spotify deal.
intelligent design. The increasingly speculative nature of these extraordinary claims culminated in a truly incredible sighting by John Herschel, the son.
You found it? Have you heard of DMT?
The Joe Rogan
Yeah, check it out. You know, up to you. I don't want to talk. Check it out, guys. The link is in the...
Of William Herschel.
Interesting to
Whilst
think
gazing upon
about,
a rock
okay?
formation on the moon, we were thrilled with astonishment to perceive 4 successive flocks of large winged creatures. They were like human beings. Their wings possessed great expansion.
You think there's a guy
and were
watching this right
similar
now and
in
he's like,
structure
wait,
to those
what?
of the bat.
I always knew it. Oh, tits
The moon
again.
was evidently home to a species of walking and flying man-bats.
It's like World of Warcraft
This
on
was
the
a
fever
truly
dream.
profound, if not bemusing, discovery, not just for the world, but also for John Herschel, Because upon being inquired about this remarkable find...
I mean, imagine you live in ancient times and you don't know what chemicals is and stuff like that. And some fucking Oracle of Delphi that for hundreds of years has been renowned gives you a potion. You're like, oh, I trust this shit, boop. And suddenly you see things. You're gonna think it's real. You're gonna, oh shit, it's Artemis. And Zeus is fucking everyone. And I am the chosen of God. Let's kill everyone. It makes
John
total
responded
sense.
with confusion. He had no knowledge of any man-bats on the moon. It turns out the story had...
What the fuck?
been fabricated by an American journalist named Richard Locke. Locke had sought to lampoon the often frivolous debate about life in other worlds, perpetuated by the likes of William Herschel and Franz von Grotthausen. Instead, the great moon hoax of 1835 convinced thousands around the world that the moon was inhabited by bat-like humanoids, unicorned bison, bipedal beavers,
And you're telling me
as
they're
well as,
not taking mushrooms, boys, huh?
storks and goats.
All these scientists, they meet with their champagne, a bunch of hookers, and they fucking...
There's also
Come on, man.
this image of a man-bat besat the flat upon the back of a fellow man-bat televacked by a pack of man-bats. As to why this guy is copping a whiff, history has declined to answer.
There's drugs involved, man.
As time went on and telescopes improved, it became increasingly difficult to argue in favor of the moon's habitability. With no apparent atmosphere, this dry and barren wasteland seemed an improbable abode for life as we know it. But by the mid-19th century, the life debate...
Imagine in hundreds and hundreds of years, man, your grandson talking to the subs here, look into the sky and they see lights on the moon because it's inhabited. And for them it will be normal. It's normal to them.
had been resurrected by a new hypothesis about the shape of the moon.
What a cool thing about being immortal, though, is to just watch the progress of the human race, right? Like the Emperor of Mankind in a way.
Egg. This uneven distribution of mass meant that any atmosphere or fluids would have coalesced on whichever side was closer to the center of gravity. If that happened to be the far side of the moon, an argument could be made for its habitability.
Going to the moon for vacation.
Though the near
I think that's
hemisphere
going
is
to
a
take
lifeless
hundreds of years
desert,
to make
having
that
neither
affordable,
water
man.
nor air to sustain life, the hidden hemisphere may have a teeming population. Among the proponents of this radical hypothesis was
like
none
the first
other
colony,
than
man?
John Herschel.
With a bunch of...
An egg shape would fully...
How do you call a house where the plants are in? You know, the house that's closed and there's plants in there. The house. Plant house? Plant house?
account for the
Plant
total
house?
absence both of air and of water on the side of the moon
Greenhouse,
turned
greenhouse.
towards us, and would be quite
Greenhouse.
compatible with the abundant existence of both and of a habitable hemisphere on the opposite side. Had history played out differently, perhaps we'd be dealing with egg mooners instead of flat earthers at this point. No, but that's lunacy, okay. While skeptics made quick work of the egg-shaped moon hypothesis, far-side inhabitants could not be so easily dismissed. After all, the far side of the moon is unseeable from Earth, and thus ripe
That
for
sounds so...
speculation.
I know I sound very arrogant and I'm not a scientist, but that all sounds like a bunch of bollocks, man.
So then I
Bunch
subjected
of
them to a
nonsense.
spectrographic analysis.
Thank you, Shinko.
It's dust. A great amount of radioactive dust.
They found the Nazis. Thank you,
What you're saying
Mr.
is that somehow,
Theodore.
for some reason, the moon has been encircled by a ring of highly radioactive dust?
Something's going on the other side of the moon.
It's hard to
The
disprove a
invisible
lie and to
side.
tell it.
Something that we ought to know about.
By placing aliens on the far
If
side
I
of the
were immortal, I will travel the universe at the speed of a car. That's how I thought, but then I became 11.
moon, early science fiction authors were able to skirt the line of plausibility. If aliens wanted to conceal their presence and perhaps observe humanity from a distance, this cosmic blind spot was the perfect hiding place. At least that was the opinion of famed American astronomer Carl Sagan. It is not out of the question that artifacts or even some kind of base is maintained within the solar system. Because of weathering and the possibility of detection, it might have appeared preferable not to erect such a base on Earth. The moon seems one reasonable alternative.
Like, to me, that seems just so unprofessional. Like, anyone that's at university and takes it serious and knows what scientific work is, that is such bullshit, man. You gotta, as a
site for a base.
almost laughable.
Humanity
you know?
got its first glimpse of
Well,
the
a lot
far
of
side
people
of the
have
moon
laughed at and
in
then they
late
were right in the end, but
1959, when the Soviet spacecraft Luna 3
Now it's not
relayed
professional.
these images back to mission control. Subsequent
I just feel
missions
like it seems in scientific work important to not raise a theory if there isn't even a little bit of evidence. Like, you talk about basis without any background, dude.
improved upon the quality, but alas, reveal nothing.
And the problem is, if you say it out like that, like there could be base, you already catch idiots. People read the article, they read your scientific paper, like, wait, there's a base at the end. Like, you're using a type of speech as a scientist that just spreads fake news and false thinking, and I don't know if that's very professional. Can you follow me there? I don't know. Thank you, Caligula.
But more moon. But this idea of concealment...
Or maybe it's just my law school background, because in law school was like, you have to prove everything. You can't just say something without proof. You instantly fucking fail. Boom, F.
lingers to this day. Many are
And
still
if you would
holding
argue
out
something
hope
without proof,
that
they will just
somewhere
call you
in
an
the
idiot.
solar system, the ruins or technology of some unknown intelligence lie waiting to be found. In 1988, the Soviet Union launched a probe known as Phobos 2. As the name implies, part of its mission was to investigate the Martian moon, Phobos. The probe arrived at Phobos without any major complications, and in late March of 1989 began preparations to plant 2 instruments onto its surface. But then, contact with Phobos 2 was lost. In the weeks and months that followed, rumors began to circulate. Puzzling features and shadows were said to be visible on some of the final images transmitted by Phobos 2, the nature and origin of which supposedly defied explanation. Through various articles, conferences, and television programs, these images were gradually unveiled to the public. They appear to depict an unidentified craft in orbit around Mars. It was said to be an alien spaceship that had attacked and disabled Phobos 2. Not only that, but it cast an...
And again, right, it's 99.9% sure that did not happen. But the way of speech, the way you give it to the public and to the human race, makes such a wrong picture. Imagine you make an article, oh, there could be a possibility we were attacked there. You put something into people's brains and then they go crazy and shit. Because if you learned one thing in the last 20 years, if you give the basic human being wrong information in their brain, they just go fucking mad, dude. I mean, look what happened the last years.
Facts are just accepted opinions, and what we think is correct now is just as likely to be proven wrong in the future as everything we think is wrong and stupid from the past.
Thank you, Stiegel.
Enormous elliptical shadow upon the surface of Mars.
Но эта тень появилась действительно неожиданно, и что это такое, мы сразу не поняли. И, наверное, не очень хорошо обратили на это внимание, потому что дальше она опять, увидите, продолжается в виде полосы.
То есть это не предмет, висящий над поверхностью, а это, видимо, тень все-таки на поверхности планеты?
Наверное. Потому что, то есть это не полностью перекрывается, так сказать, сигнал от поверхности Марса.
Это похоже на ракету, взлетающую с поверхности Марса, и после которой еще остается инверсионный след. Как вы к этому относитесь?
Ну, если дать волю фантазии, то, конечно, можно найти и такие объяснения. Но мы склонны видеть совершенно реальные, хотя, может быть, еще до конца не объясненные обстоятельства, которые породили вот такой вот след. Скорее всего, это все-таки тень от какого-то объекта на поверхности, потому что сквозь тень просвечиваются элементы поверхности.
That guy sounds like a scientist. The first guy in the whole video who sounds like a scientist, man. Question everything. Thank you, 4 legendary zeros for another 5, man. I don't know why you... Did you win the lottery lately or some shit, man? Cam? Fuck the cam, dude. I'm not gonna change the cam for a 5-second clip. Fuck your 5 subs. You just destroyed everything. Move cam! Oh, man, it was a fucking 2 seconds! 2 seconds of something you can't read. Most likely it's gone. Shut up.
The mystery persisted for about a decade or two until the raw data from the Phobos 2 mission became readily accessible. The unidentified craft looked an awful lot like an overexposed transmission artifact.
What?
In fact, all the infrared images featured the same white streak. Meanwhile, the elliptical shadow belonged to Phobos. Its elongated shape was due to multiple scans or photographs being taken in sequence before assembling the final image.
So the shadow was you the whole time. Ah!
Stories like the Phobos incident have become rather par for the course. Some initial event or discovery leaves an information vacuum which is immediately filled by fantastical speculation. A printing artifact becomes a tower on the moon. The happenstance of light and shadow.
I remember, bro. Dude, I remember. Dude, everybody has it. Okay, I get it. When I was a kid, okay, when I was like 14, I was so into this. Like, you're 14, you're a fucking idiot, right? You're like Grisha, and you're like, and you see this, right? You're like, oh my god. Mom! Oh my god, have you seen this? And you just go crazy, right? I think a lot of people, especially in this chat, had a phase in their life where they believed in all this shit. I remember I was a kid and there was a forum and they said, yo, put 9/11 into Word and then change the language. And it turns into 2 houses and a plane. I'm like, what? I did that. I remember. And like, George W. Bush has 11 letters. Afghanistan, 11 letters. And I remember I was like, wow, what the fuck, man? And then I became 16. My IQ reached 80 and I realized, whoa, I'm retarded.
Begets a human face on Mars.
But as a kid, this shit is crazy.
And these prominent boulders on both Mars and Phobos conjure images of a certain Stanley Kubrick film.
That actually looks...
More recently, a Chinese rover on the moon captured this image.
Can I... Why do you go... It's just 4 people carrying the stream right now. 4 people that give subs all the time. Bygone. Are you like in real life SWAT making mad money or some shit? What the fuck, man? Thank you for the 10. Jesus. Come on, man. Nazis on the moon, that is facts. Thank you for the 10, Bygone, man. Appreciate it. Crazy fucker.
Of what some described as a hut. Upon closer inspection, everyone was absolutely gobsmacked when the hut was exposed as...
What? Oh no. Dude, imagine they get so crazy about the moon. What happens when the James Webb telescope is getting mad shit out of the universe and everybody's like, wow, I think we found God. I remember when they found the Eye of God and people literally thought it's the Eye of God. Well, I did when I was 12. Eye of God nebula. Like, people literally thought we found them. We found them. We found God, guys. It's over. Right? Because humans tend to be overdramatic and romanticize stuff. And it's just a fucking blowing up of like a sun or some shit, right? But when you're like 12 years old, you're like, whoa, he's real, man. He's real. He's looking at me.
The rock.
Bygone, what is that link? I have to click it because you gifted 10 subs. Oh, that's actually a cool video. Okay. Not bad.
Whether you're an amateur or professional, have no experience or decades worth, you're never quite immune to this kind of self-deception. When you want something to be true, it can be deceptively easy to convince yourself that it is. Remember that prize money, the 100,000 francs, offered to anyone who discovered a means of communicating with another planet, excluding Mars. Well, in 1937, there was a claim on that prize. The claimant was none other than world-renowned inventor Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
In 1899, Tesla had been experimenting with wireless radio communication. During some of those experiments, he picked up some rather odd transmissions.
Sexy boy, man.
Although I could not decipher their meaning, the feeling is constantly growing in me that I have been the first to hear the greeting of one planet to another.
Like, it seems that in science, as I'm not a scientist, when you do science stuff, like look into theories and you do blah, blah, you do all that stuff, you have to always think about a margin of error of human fantasy, which is why I'm such a... This is gonna sound weird because I shouldn't talk, I don't know shit. That's why I'm so for technocracy and the overcoming of human emotions in certain cases, and AI taking over, because AI will never fantasize like this. I think I just heard an alien. It will be very cold. I mean, this is a weird topic. The beauty of the human race is that we romanticize and fantasize. That's the beautiful thing of a human being. That's what makes humans so great, that we have these dreams. It's beautiful. But you could also argue that in scientific ways, looking at the universe, it makes sense to not have this dreamy romanticizing going on. Thank you, DSH. And I always have this theory, clip it, and in 5,000 years, they will know Tommy was the first to say it. I think biggest scientists the human race will ever have will be AI, because they have the means, the knowledge, and the lifespan to go out there and check all this stuff out, man. They will go to Mars and be like, analyze, and they will come up with solutions with their algorithms and stuff. Thank you, Najee. I guess.
What purpose was behind these electrical signals?
Maybe I just also have
Tesla
mushrooms.
described the signals as a repeating sequence of either 3 or 4 pulses. Decades later, Tesla was still convinced that he'd received an interplanetary message and had even deduced its origin. The signals consisted in a regular repetition of numbers, and subsequent study convinced me that they must have emanated from Mars. I believe the Martians used numbers for communication because numbers are universal. Then, in 1937, Tesla announced his plans to unveil a new technology capable of not just interplanetary, but interstellar communication. With such impressive technology at hand,
but humans will make these robots. Look, man, one day you're gonna make a girl pregnant, you make a kid, you will raise that kid, but one day that kid is becoming sentient and doesn't need you anymore. That will happen with AI. Yes, we made the AI, but what we now have a right that we will control AI for the next 5 million years is bullshit. At some point, maybe AI is gonna detach itself from us and make its own decisions. Holy shit, I just beat Margaret for first time. Very happy for you, bro.
Confident that he'd soon be awarded the 100,000 francs. I intend to claim the Pierre Gussman Prize. I am just as sure the prize will be awarded to me as if I already had it in my pocket.
Fuck you! What an asshole! You have no evidence, man. You just talk mad shit. And you want 100K for that. Fuck you.
They didn't do it. The prize was instead awarded to the crew of Apollo 11 in 1969. As for the alleged message from Mars, well, we don't really know. While Earth was much quieter back in 1899, it was still far from radio silent.
But they always prove this is just some basic radiation shit. And the human brain once again dreams, romanticizes, and thinks, oh, that's it, that's it. By the way, if you're into this stuff, man, the best movie ever about this stuff is the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, one of my favorite movies. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Contact with Jodie Foster. What a great movie. God, I love that movie, man. Very far ahead of its time, that movie. They should have sent the poet. What a line, right? What a line.
Who knows? Perhaps it was nothing but the rumbling noise of a distant thunderstorm.
Yeah. Arrival has also been sick, but what I didn't like about Arrival is that they went too far with that Chinese general. The Chinese general will nuke the planet. He's gonna attack everyone. Why? No one is pressuring anyone. The aliens are just hanging out. But China's about to nuke everyone, man. That was a bit unrealistic, I felt like. First one to nuke aliens is the Americans.
Upon sailing into the shadow of Venus in 1975, Vignera 9 detected faint flashes of light. The emissions were broadly consistent with lightning, but it's a matter of interpretation. Data gathered by subsequent missions are likewise consistent with Venusian thunderstorms, yet fall short of any conclusive
Contact
evidence.
is actually based
Presuming
on a book by Carl
that lightning does occur
Sagan,
in
the guy you
Venus,
criticized earlier.
could it explain the ashen
Doesn't
light?
change what I said.
Well, it's been estimated that the night side of Venus would need to maintain a rate of some 1,000 lightning strikes per
When Tesla
second
died, all
to
his stuff
yield the
disappeared
glow
from his
that's
apartment.
visible
Is that
from Earth.
real, yeah?
That's more than
I guess
20
CIA was
times the
going
mean
for
rate
shit.
of Earth, and would likely been observed a long time ago. In the blunt words of another paper, lightning is not acceptable as an explanation for the ashen light. But in certain parts
Tesla
of the
had
world,
enemies.
there is another striking phenomenon illuminating the night sky. These vibrant curtains of light are the result of charged particles ejected by the sun colliding with the Earth's magnetic field. Could something akin to the Northern Lights be responsible for the ashen light? Aurorae have indeed been observed on planets like Jupiter and Saturn, so it might seem like an obvious solution. What makes it not so obvious is that the magnetic field around Venus is virtually non-existent. It is extremely weak and transient and is generated by a completely different process than here on Earth. In spite of this, when caught in the path of a solar storm, Venus has in recent years been observed to glow. The underlying mechanism of this glow is still poorly understood, but there is an apparent link between solar activity and diffuse emissions of light on the night side of Venus. Not only that, but there is a weak correlation between solar activity and ashen light observations. According to author John Barentine, who's written the definitive book on the subject, the data are inconclusive, but there are hints in this figure that something is indeed up. The apparent spike in the number of ashen light sightings in the 1950s
please don't hate me, man. I love Lemino, but the whole video was
maxima
such a waste of time for me.
250 years.
If you, the thing is with these theories and stuff, if you want to get entertained by it, you can do that. You can really get into it, right? You can watch 9/11 conspiracy videos all day. If you're into it, it's gonna entertain you, man. But this was...
While all of this sounds quite promising,
really
it's a bit too early to celebrate. Nothing conclusive has been found,
it's 40 minutes. I gotta play
many
hardcore,
attempts
man.
to
I
do
have 3 hours left.
The ashen light has never been recorded on camera. Until that happens, this nearly 400-year-old mystery remains in limbo.
I'm saving all the
videos. Should it be ascribed to the
guys,
atmosphere of Venus or the
so
mind of the observer? Perhaps we should have listened to Giovanni Riccioli from the very beginning. Perhaps it is nothing more than a convincing illusion.
Giovanni, man, this guy understands his shit. What do you think about Grisha's last video? Not gonna answer that.
The search for cosmic neighbors continues. Many scientists now believe that both Venus and Mars used to resemble Earth in the distant past. Perhaps a relict biosphere or the remnants of a once teeming population can still be found in Venusian clouds or Martian soil.
Kinda unhealthy.
There's mounting evidence that the Jovian moons Europa, Ganymede and Callisto, along with Enceladus and Titan of Saturn, all host a vast subglacial ocean. Could resilient microbes or even larger organisms have found a way to thrive beneath the frozen crusts? Who knows? An apparent hut on the moon or
to be honest,
monolith on Mars?
This has been the most interesting part of the whole video. Because if that's real, that is an unnatural shape. Thank you, Kyle, man. That's the only interesting thing in the whole video.
Might one day match our most outlandish expectations. Even if Earth should prove the sole harbor of life within the solar system, every dot in the night sky has the potential to host another.
Look how many fucking stars there are. That's just not even a half, not even
the James Webb Telescope.
2%
There's no telling
shit.
what secrets are
it's just the Milky Way stars. Oh, thinking about how big the universe is, man. Wow.